Hello everyone. Welcome you all to the last session on the topic Relations and Functions of Class 12 Mathematics. In this session, we'll solve the remaining problems from the miscellaneous exercise on chapter 1. Here is the 16th problem. Let A equal to the set containing elements 1, 2, 3. Then number of relations containing the ordered pairs 1, 2 and 1, 3 which are reflexive and symmetric but not transitive is either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. We have 4 options and we have to choose one among this. The question here is, we have a set A which has 3 elements, that is 1, 2 and 3. We need to find the number of relations which is symmetric, reflexive but not transitive, and that relation should contain the elements 1, 2 and 1, 3. That is the ordered pair 1, 2 and the ordered pair 1, 3. And we need to find out how many such relations are possible. Now let's start writing the relations with the elements in the set A. There is all sorts of elements, all combinations. Let us put all the combinations together here and we'll define that relation as R, and it is listed as 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, and we have all the elements in the set. So we have the elements and we have around 3 plus 3 plus 3, we have 9 elements in this set. The bracket is missing here, so here it is. So we have 9 elements in this relation. Now we need to have a relation which is reflexive, symmetric and but not transitive. So let's check for these conditions for this particular relation. Now to have R as reflexive, we need to have the elements 1, 1, 2, 2 and 3, 3. Yeah, we have all the 3 elements, so we can say this R is reflexive. So R is reflexive, the first part is done. Let's check for symmetric. Now to check for symmetric, let me consider the elements say 1, 2. If I take 1, 2 in R, I must be able to find an element called 2, 1. Yes, we have 2, 1 for 1, 2. Now if I consider the element 2, 3, we should have an element called 3, 2. Yeah, we have 2, 3 and 3, 2. Then if I take the element 1, 3, I must have an element 3, 1. So yeah, for 1, 3 we have the element 3, 1. And you can see all the elements are filled in here. So this tells me that the given relation or the relation that we have defined is symmetric. So we have R reflexive and R symmetric. Let's check for transitive. Now with these elements in this relation, now let me consider the elements 1, 2 and 2, 3. If at all I have an element called 1, 2 and an element 2, 3, I should have an element 1, 3 in R. Of course, we know we have all these elements 1, 2. Here it is. Let me show it as a highlighting one. We have 1, 2 and then we have 2, 3, for which we have the element called 1, 3. So this is also there. The first part is there, which tells us that this is transitive. So let me move on to the next set of elements. For 2, 3 and 3, 1, we should have 2, 1. Yeah, we have all this. Let's go back and check. 2, 3 and 3, 1. Yeah, 2, 3 and 3, 1. We have an element called 2, 1. Yes, we have all these 3. So we see that this is a transitive. I mean the conditions are satisfied for transitive. Now let me check the other possibility, like for 3, 1 and 1, 2, we must have 3, 2 in R. So 3, 1 and 1, 2. 3, 1 is here, so we have it here. 1, 2 is here, we have it here. So for 3, 1 and 1, 2, we should have 3, 2. So this is also here. So you see that all the possibilities are here. So you can easily conclude this relation is transitive. But we don't need it transitive because we need to have a relation which has reflexive and symmetric but not transitive. So what to be done? How to make this transitive but it should not affect your reflexive and also symmetric? There is one thing to be noted here. You note from the question that you must have 1, 2 and 1, 3 in your set. It must contain these two elements. So when I'm looking at the possibilities here, I must have 1, 2 and I must have 1, 3. Now if at all I should have 1, 3, I should have these two, 1, 2 and 2, 3 should be there. And to have 1, 2, it is not necessary that I should have the remaining. So I can consider this 3, 2 to be removed from this relation. So what if I remove 3, 2? Will it affect the symmetric? Let's go back and check. Where I have 3, 2. Here is the place where I have 3, 2. If I have to remove 3, 2, I have to remove this 2, 3 also. Otherwise, if I just remove this pair 3, 2, it will affect the symmetric condition. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove both the elements. That is, I'm going to remove 2, 3 and also 3, 2 from the defined relation. Now let's see, if I remove this 2, 3 and 3, 2, it won't affect our symmetric condition because we'll be comfortable with this first thing. That is 1, 2, 2, 1 will be an element in R, 1, 3, 3, 1 will be an element in R, so it won't be a problem. Now if I remove 2, 3 and 3, 2, now when you check for your transitive, you have 3, 1, you will have 1, 2, but 3, 2 will not be an element in R. So when I remove this, this tells me that the given relation is not transitive. Now you can see the list of elements in R now after removing this 3, 2 and 2, 3. We have 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, 1 and 3, 3. So the 9 elements in this set has been reduced to 7 elements. You can check it out here. So this is a set of new relations. We got it now. Now if you check for the other possibilities, there is no other possibility that you can have some other relation which satisfies reflexive, symmetric but not transitive, because for reflexive you need to have all these relations. There is 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 are all mandatory. Now to check for symmetric, you need to have everything. Like if you have 1, 2, you need to have 2, 1. If you have 1, 3, you need to have 3, 1. I don't have 2, 3, so I don't need 3, 2 also. So everything, all these elements are mandatory for this relation to be reflexive and also symmetric. But you can check for transitive. Transitive is not necessary. So if you take an element, it need not be transitive. Hence, you cannot have, you cannot form any other relation which satisfies all this condition. So this is the only possibility we have. That means number of possible relations with the given elements from the given set is none other than 1. So let us go back to the options that we have. The options we have is A is 1, B is 2, C is 3 and D is 4. So there is only one possible relation that we have. So the option A is the correct answer. I hope you are able to understand what are we doing here. We have a set and we need to find out a relation, and we have also supposed to find out the number of relations that can be formed having the elements 1, 2 and 1, 3. That is, these are very important, that it should contain these two elements, and you can even have some other elements also in the relation, and that relation should be reflexive, symmetric and not transitive. So we assume that all the elements are there in the relation, and we try to find out or check it out whether these conditions are satisfied. Now when I'm looking for the conditions, I'm able to see that if I remove this part, that is 2, 3, 3, 2 from the relation, I will be able to satisfy the necessary conditions, and hence I'm removing it, and then I'm writing the new relation with the new elements, with those two elements, removing it. And I can also see that there are no other possible relations are there, and hence I conclude that number of possible relations with the given elements or given set is nothing but 1, which comes as a option A, which comes as the answer of option A. So we conclude option A is the right answer. Here we have the 18th problem. So the 17th problem will be your homework. Let f from R to R be the signum function defined as f of x is equal to 1 when your x is greater than 0, f of x is 0 when x is equal to 0, and f of x is minus 1 when your x is less than 0. And g from R to R be the greatest integer function given by g of x is equal to modulus x, or the greatest integer function. This is not modulus, it's the greatest integer function x, where this bracket x is greatest integer less than or equal to x. So this is the one which represents the greatest integer function. It's like a square bracket. So if you write an element inside the square bracket, it means that it takes the greatest integer value, greatest integer of the value that is defined inside the bracket. So we have a function f, we have a function g. Now the question is, does f composite g and g composite f coincide in half open interval 0 and 1? That is, when you mean half open interval, here the interval is closed at 1. So you can include the element 1, but you cannot include the element 0. So you have elements greater than 0, from 0, not from 0. The elements are lying between 0 and 1, where 1 is included and 0 is not included. When you take elements from this type of interval, we need to check whether f composite g and g composite f coincide or not. This means that will they be equal? That is, the values of f composite g and g composite f, will they be equal in this particular interval or not? This is what we have to check. So let's see how we're going to check it out. Now, as usual, let us list out the values of f of x and g of x. Here it is. Now we have to check for the values of f composite g and g composite f in the half open interval 0, 1. So let me consider an element in the half open interval 0, 1, where it is closed at 0 and open at 0 and closed at 1. Now here we have a few cases. That is, since the interval we are going to have is half open 0, 1, that is open at 0 and closed at 1. We have two cases here. We are dividing, we are distributing the cases as one is complete open interval 0, 1 and at x equal to 1. So we are considering two cases here. So here is the first case when x equal to 1. Let us list out the values of all the functions when x is equal to 1. Similarly, when x takes the value from the open interval 0, 1. Now let's discuss when x is equal to 1. Now, as per the definition of f of x, when your x is equal to 1, it means your x is greater than 0. So when your x is greater than 0, f of x takes the value 1. So here when your x is 1, this means that your x is greater than 0, hence your f of x is equal to 1. Now what about our g of x? G of x is nothing but our greatest integer function which takes the greatest integer which is less than or equal to x. So g of x is nothing but g of 1, which is nothing but the greatest integer 1. So obviously it is equal to 1. The greatest integer in this bracket is nothing but 1. So we have g of x as 1. So f of x is 1, g of x is 1 when x is equal to 1. Now let's find out what is our f composite g in this case. Now f composite g of x is nothing but f of g of x. This is per definition. Now when your x is 1 or g of x is 1, this is what we have found here. So this becomes f of 1, and we know f of 1, that is f of x at x equal to 1 is also 1. So this gives us that f composite g when x equal to 1 is 1. Now let's discuss these values when x takes the value from the in the open interval 0, 1. Now let's consider the open interval 0, 1. Now what will be your f of x in this one? Like x can take any values from 0 to 1. That is, it cannot have 0. X is not equal to 0 and your x is not equal to 1. But it can take all the values from 0 to 1. This means that obviously your x is greater than 0. So when your x is greater than 0, as per the definition of f of x is 1. So we have f of x as 1 here. Now let's move to a g of x. G of x when x takes the value between 0 to 1. It means that your g of x will be nothing but the greatest integer value of x. So when I take the values from 0 to 1, it will be definitely greater than 0, but these x values are less than 1. So when it is lying between 0 and 1, the greatest integer that we have here is only 0. So if at all, for example, if you take a value called 0.598, whatever it is, this is going to give you the value only 0. Whatever the decimal value you're going to have it after your decimal point, everything doesn't make sense because your output is only the integer value. Here the integer is only 0. So this will give you only 0. So g of x when x lying between 0, 1 will give you the value only 0. So we have f of x as 1 and g of x as 0 when x lying between the open interval 0, 1. Now what is the value of f composite g in this case? F composite g is nothing but f of g of x, and g of x takes the value 0, whereas f of 0, that is when x is 0, f takes the value 0. I think you can check it out here. When x is 0, your f of x is 0. So we have this value. So this gives us f composite g is 0 when x belongs to 0, 1. So on this board we conclude f composite g is equal to 1 when x is equal to 1, whereas f composite g equal to 0 when x lying between 0 and 1, that is the open interval 0 and 1. Now let's discuss what are the values that g composite f is going to take in these two cases. Now for our convenience, I have rewritten the values of f of x and g of x once again here. So we have the same conditions, that is x equal to 1 and x belongs to the open interval 0, 1. Now when g composite f, let's try to find the value of g composite f. So g composite f is nothing but g composite f of x, which is equal to g of f of x. Now we have here f of x is 1, so it is g of 1. Again g of 1 is also 1. So this tells us g composite f is equal to 1. Now you can check back. Your f composite g when x equal to 1 is also 1. Your g composite f when x equal to 1 is also 1. So at 1, both these values are coinciding. Now let's check the same thing when x belongs to the open interval 0, 1. Now as we know, f of x takes a value 1 and g of x takes a value 0 when your x is lying between half open, open interval 0, 1. Now what is g composite f? G composite f is nothing but g composite f of x, which is equal to g of f of x, whereas f of x takes a value 1, so it is g of 1. Now g of 1, when you check it out, it is giving you 1 because g of 1 is nothing but g of x when x is equal to 1. It's not this one, it is here. We have it at this place. So we have g composite f is equal to 1. Now let's go back and check what is a g composite f when x belongs to 0, 1. I'm sorry, f composite g. So f composite g when x belongs to 0, 1 is 0, whereas g composite f when x belongs to 0, 1 is 1. So this tells you that f composite g and g composite f does not coincide and does not coincide in the half open interval 0, 1. It's not 1v1, you can see it is nothing but a half open interval. So it means that even though it satisfies at x equal to 1, it doesn't satisfy the value which is less than 1 is not satisfied. Hence we can conclude that the functions, that is the compositions, will not be equal in the half open interval 0, 1. So with this, I am concluding the session on relations and functions. You can try out your next problems as homework. There is one problem left out in the chapter. I am not discussing the binary operations because binary operations are not included for your board exam. So the problems based on binary operations are excluded in these sessions. You can check it out. That is why under miscellaneous problems we have not included the binary operation problems. So examples I have given you 48, 50 and 51 to have a practice. So finish up the example problems and exercise problem. There is only one problem left out, so complete it and then just have a revisit on the entire chapter once again before we start the next chapter. So with this, I complete the session on relations and functions. Kindly go back, check it out, watch out all our videos once again to have a better understanding, to have a recap on what all we have done in our earlier classes. So kindly make a note of it. Your binary operation, what we have discussed in 1 or 2 sessions, are not there for your annual exam, that is for your CBSE board exam. So that has not been included. So need not continue with binary operations anymore. With this, I conclude this chapter. So we'll meet you in the next session on a new topic. Until then, keep going through the chapter once again to have a better practice and practice all the worksheets that are given to you. Thank you.